The morning of June 12, 2025 began like any other in Ahmedabad. The sun rose over the bustling city, and travelers prepared for their journeys at Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. Among them were the passengers and crew of Air India Flight AI-171. This flight was a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, a modern and trusted aircraft. It was scheduled for a long-haul journey from Ahmedabad to London's Gatwick Airport. Families were saying their goodbyes, business travelers were preparing for meetings, and holidaymakers were excited about their trip. No one could have known that this ordinary day would soon turn into one of the darkest in India's aviation history, leaving a scar on the nation's heart. As the plane prepared for takeoff, everything seemed normal. The crew completed their final checks, and the passengers settled into their seats. The powerful engines of the Dreamliner roared to life, and the aircraft began its ascent into the sky. However, just moments after lifting off the runway, something went terribly wrong. The flight, which should have been climbing steadily towards its cruising altitude, faltered. A sense of confusion and alarm must have spread through the cockpit as the pilots fought to control the massive plane. For those on the ground who witnessed it, the sight was terrifying and unbelievable. The aircraft struggled to gain height, a clear sign of a critical problem. The struggle was brief and ended in catastrophe. The Boeing 787-8 plunged back towards the earth, crashing into a residential area near the airport. The impact was devastating, causing a massive explosion that could be seen and felt for miles around. The dreams and plans of everyone on board were extinguished in an instant. The quiet neighborhood was suddenly transformed into a scene of chaos and destruction. Emergency services were dispatched immediately, but the scale of the disaster was overwhelming. This was not just an accident, it was a profound national tragedy that would be remembered for years to come. The news of the crash spread quickly across the country and the world. A routine flight had turned into a horrific event, leaving everyone in a state of shock and disbelief. The journey from Ahmedabad to London was a popular route, connecting families and businesses between India and the United Kingdom. Now, this connection was broken by an unforeseen disaster. The initial reports were fragmented, but they all pointed to a terrible loss of life. The day that had started with so much promise had now been overshadowed by immense grief and sorrow as a nation began to grapple with the magnitude of what had just happened. The human toll of the Air India Flight AI-171 crash was staggering and heartbreaking. On board the aircraft were a total of 242 people. This number included 230 passengers, 10 dedicated cabin crew members, and 2 experienced pilots who were in command of the flight. These individuals came from all walks of life, each with their own unique story and a future that was tragically cut short. They were mothers, fathers, children, friends, and colleagues. The plane was a microcosm of society, filled with people heading to London for various reasons: to reunite with loved ones, to pursue education, or to simply explore a new part of the world. The loss was immense and deeply personal for countless families. In a disaster of this scale, survival is almost unheard of, yet there was a single glimmer of hope amidst the wreckage. Miraculously, one person survived the crash. His name is Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, a 40-year-old British Indian national who was found alive by the first responders. His survival is a testament to the unpredictable nature of such events, but it is also a stark reminder of the 241 other souls on the plane who were not as fortunate. While his survival brought a small measure of relief, it did not diminish the overwhelming sense of loss. The focus remained on the families who were now facing the unimaginable pain of losing their loved ones so suddenly and violently. The tragedy was not confined to the passengers and crew on the flight. When the plane crashed, it fell into a populated area, causing further devastation on the ground. The impact and subsequent fire claimed the lives of an additional 33 people who were in their homes or on the streets below. These innocent victims were caught in a disaster they had no part in. Their lives ended in the most horrific way imaginable. This added another layer of sorrow to the incident, as entire families on the ground were torn apart. The crash of AI-171 was not just an aviation disaster, it was a community-wide catastrophe that left deep wounds. In total, the crash claimed the lives of 274 people. This number represents more than just a statistic. It represents hundreds of shattered families and broken hearts in both India and the United Kingdom. Each number was a person with a name, a family, and a life full of potential. The stories of those who were lost began to emerge in the following days, painting a poignant picture of the human cost of the tragedy. From young students traveling abroad for the first time to elderly couples returning home, the scale of the loss was difficult to comprehend. The community was left to mourn and support one another through this period of profound grief. In the immediate aftermath of the crash, the most urgent question on everyone's mind was, why did this happen? To find answers and prevent such a tragedy from happening again, the Indian government quickly established a high-level investigative committee. This important task was assigned to a team led by the Union Home Secretary, Govind Mohan. The committee was composed of top experts from various fields, including aviation safety, aircraft engineering, and meteorology. Their mission was clear: to conduct a thorough and impartial investigation into the final moments of Flight AI-171 and determine the exact cause of the crash. The nation looked to them for clarity and accountability. The investigation team began its work immediately, securing the crash site to preserve crucial evidence. Their primary focus was on recovering the aircraft's flight data recorder, or FDR, and cockpit voice recorder, or CVR, commonly known as the black boxes. These devices are designed to withstand extreme impact and fire, and they hold vital information about the plane's performance and the conversations between the pilots. The data from these recorders would provide a second-by-second account of what occurred in the cockpit and how the aircraft was behaving just before it crashed. Finding these black boxes was the first and most critical step in piecing together the puzzle of this disaster. While waiting for the official findings, aviation experts and analysts began to discuss potential causes based on the limited information available. One of the leading theories pointed to a possible mechanical failure, specifically a lack of thrust from both of the aircraft's engines. For a plane to lose power in both engines simultaneously right after takeoff is extremely rare, but it would explain why the aircraft was unable to climb. Investigators would need to carefully examine the engine components recovered from the wreckage to see if there was any evidence of a malfunction or manufacturing defect that could have led to such a catastrophic failure. Another possible cause that was widely considered was a bird strike. Airports are often located near areas that attract large flocks of birds, and a collision with a bird, or multiple birds, can cause significant damage to an engine, especially during the critical phases of takeoff or landing. The investigation team would look for any biological evidence on the engine parts to confirm or rule out this possibility. Additionally, they would examine whether the aircraft's weight was within its prescribed limits, as an overweight plane would struggle to perform correctly. Every potential factor, from human error to weather conditions, was placed under intense scrutiny by the investigation team. In the wake of the devastating crash, the response from the Indian government and Air India was swift and focused on supporting the grieving families. The immediate priority was the difficult and sensitive task of identifying the victims. Given the nature of the crash, many of the victims could not be identified visually. The government coordinated a large-scale effort to conduct DNA testing, collecting samples from family members to match with the remains recovered from the site. This process, while painful, was essential to provide families with certainty and allow them to perform the final rites for their loved ones with dignity and respect. Air India, the airline at the center of the tragedy, took immediate steps to assist the families affected by the crash. The airline established special assistance centers in both Ahmedabad and London to provide a central point of contact for information and support. They arranged for the travel and accommodation of family members who needed to travel to Ahmedabad. Furthermore, Air India provided grief counseling services, understanding the immense emotional trauma the families were experiencing. The airline's employees worked around the clock to help with documentation, answer questions, and offer a compassionate presence during an unimaginably difficult time for the relatives of the passengers and crew. As a lasting tribute to the 274 lives that were lost, Air India made a significant decision to honor their memory. The airline announced that it would permanently retire the flight number AI-171. This is a common practice in the aviation industry after a major crash. done out of respect for the victims and their families. The flight number had become synonymous with tragedy, and retiring it was a symbolic gesture to ensure that it would never be used again. This small but meaningful act acknowledged the profound loss and ensured that the memory of Flight AI-171 would be preserved with solemnity and reverence. While the memory of the past was honored, the airline also had to look toward the future. The important air route between Ahmedabad and London Gatwick needed to continue, as it serves as a vital link for many travelers. To continue the service while respecting the memory of the victims, Air India assigned a new flight number to this route. The journey between the two cities is now operated as Flight AI-159. This change marked the beginning of a new chapter, one that carries the heavy lessons learned from the tragedy. The crash of AI-171 serves as a permanent, somber reminder of the importance of aviation safety and the human stories behind every flight. If you found this story meaningful, please subscribe for more in-depth documentaries. This is a production of Wordsmith International Editorial.